Sit down and turn your volume up because it's unpopular opinion time. Here goes. Always be proactive when it comes to your children. Stated like that, it kind of sounds like, of course, but let me say it a different way. You'll never regret early intervention, but parents often regret the wait and see approach, especially when you knew something wasn't right. Your spidey senses were up, but you were advised by professionals, family members, other parents to just give it more time. It'll all work out. Every child grows at their own pace. My son didn't speak till he was 4, and now he's the CFO of a Fortune 500 company. My daughter didn't learn to read till she was 10. Now she's a Harvard grad. Anecdotal evidence. What about the kids who didn't speak till age 2, 3, 4, and are now language delayed? What about the kids who never showed any interest in learning to read and are now struggling to keep up with peers and school demands? For those who don't know me, hi, I'm Maura. I'm one of the speech and language pathologists at Rooted in Language, and I'm also a mother of 2. And today I'd like to tell you the tale of 2 babies. So my first daughter was a very late babbler. At 3 to 5 months, she cooed loudly and expressively, and I had no doubt in my mind she would be an advanced talker. At 6 months, I excitedly expected to hear that classic consonant vowel babbling. Nothing. As an SLP, I knew that there's an expected range of normal, so I waited. And at 7 months, still nothing. But by 8 months, still nothing. And she was doing little to no imitating. So I began to do some intentional home interactions to work on imitating both gestures and sounds, and then she began to start producing some single-syllable babble. And at 9 months, she still wasn't doing that reduplicated, repeated type babbling. I was in tears every night over this at this point because I was convinced she had a language delay. I asked her pediatrician, who told me, just wait and see. I was not happy with that answer, especially since a pediatrician isn't a language specialist. I'm a language specialist, so I asked for a referral to get her hearing tested. The pediatrician said it wasn't necessary, but I insisted because I needed to rule out a hearing perception issue. And a few days later, I drove my baby 45 minutes out of my way to a children's hospital to have her hearing assessed. And guess what they found? Nothing. Her hearing was completely normal. So I began to research trainings and early intervention services. Clearly, I needed more help. And then, at 9 months and 1 week, she began to babble, all day long. From that point forward, she tracked completely average to above average for all language development norms. So fast forward 2 years, my second daughter is born. At 6 months, she still isn't rolling. Her pediatrician was unconcerned. Obviously, I'm an early intervention person, so I immediately began following developmental PT accounts on Instagram. I applied some free tips and got her rolling from back to tummy within a couple weeks. But then at 7 months, she still wasn't rolling tummy to back and wasn't sitting independently. Unlike with my first, I'm not a PT, so I knew I was out of my depth. So I purchased an online class to help with rolling and sitting skills, and I watched and applied the exercises to her daily routine. And by 7.5, 8 months, she was sitting independently and rolling both ways. But then all progress stopped. Couldn't seem to achieve any kind of forward movement, no pivoting on her tummy, no army crawling. Definitely no classic crawling. She couldn't even push up and bear weight through her hands. And by 9 months, she hadn't made any progress on any of those skills. At her 9-month pediatric appointment, the pediatrician told me to, you guessed it, wait and see. So I did. Just kidding, of course. Instead, I found a local private pediatric PT. She evaluated my daughter and agreed that she had a gross motor delay. Oof. You know when you don't want to be right as a parent? This was one of those times. We began bi-weekly PT sessions, and I also purchased an online crawling course to give us extra practice. Practice 3 times a day, which was hard for everyone, especially with a toddler at home. My daughter didn't like it because who likes doing exercises that are hard for you? And I didn't like it because who likes making your kid do something that they don't like? And you better believe that I wished I could just let her do her developmental thing like most babies. But I couldn't. Not unlike eating vegetables. I knew she needed this. And after 2 months of targeted PT exercises and activities, my daughter began crawling pretty late, just before turning 11 months. Now, many would listen to these 2 stories and say that I was wrong about my first daughter, but right about my second. And some would say I was wrong about both. Kind of ironic and humbling to be wrong about the speech situation. My first daughter was just one of those late but typical cases, and it would have been fine if I had done nothing. I just had to wait and see. But my second truly had a motor delay. She needed the intervention. She would not have gotten there on her own. I would argue that I was right in both cases. I do not regret at all driving 45 minutes out of my way to get my daughter's hearing tested, which was in the end a technically unnecessary assessment. But it was necessary to rule out a common cause of delayed babbling. Just because it ended up being fine doesn't mean I regret intervening, because What if she wasn't fine? Like with my second. In both cases, I sprang into action the minute I had those niggling feelings that something was up. I know I'm an interventionist at heart and by profession, so I have a greater tendency to react this way than many people. But I will never regret giving my children any kind of jumpstart, even if it ends up being unnecessary. Why would I regret that? I do regret the things I didn't do. With my second daughter, I was actually given advice to begin PT at 8 months as kind of that prime age, and it took me an entire month to find the right person. Out of my control, but you better believe I regret losing that time. Because guess what? She's still behind on that next set of gross motor milestones. And what if I had started PT 1 month earlier? It could have made a big difference. I'll never know. Do I beat myself up about that? No, because you don't know what you don't know. But the whole point I'm making is this. Parents, trust your gut. As a clinician, it's actually quite rare that a parent comes to me with a language concern and I get to tell them, you're totally overreacting. Your child's completely fine. Go home, have a glass of wine, relax. You know when something's up. You have good instincts. And my advice to you is, act on it. To quote Michael Scott quoting Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And it's never too late to do something about a feeling you have. Even if you're regretting not starting 2, 3, 5 years ago, move forward now, wherever you are. Guys, it's never too late to make progress. And the answer doesn't have to be expensive private therapy, because I understand that is not feasible for everyone. There are tons of free resources out there for whatever your concerns are. We're one of them. If you're concerned about language or literacy, watch our videos for tons of free tips and guidance. And head to our website for free helpful downloads. And if you'd like to chime in on this hot take, I'll see you in the comments.